I'm reminded, Walter Benjamin said, the German critic said, history is a tale of the victors, right? Which implies, which I always thought, like, therefore the people who are defeated or who lose history, their tales aren't told. But I'm thinking about here today, thinking, but if you change the history, do you change power? If you change the history, do the losers become the victors?
Or is that a scary idea? So that's what I think about, right? I think about.
Oh, in this with respect to like Lake Calhoun, right?
Yeah.
Medea Bakoska, right? And I digress. But these are the things, right? So this was a place, and it had its own name, and this is what the people called it, and then it was changed, right? To a super racist guy, and then so then the indigenous Dakota, the indigenous people from this region, they're like, well, we'd like you to change it back, and then there's all this like weird tape that they have to go through to change it back, right? And they're not going to ever change it, right? They're just going to put both names up and be like, okay, now just shut up. But I think about, like I said, the foundations of all this, and I go back to what Gwen Westerman was saying, who's an incredible poet. The amount of language, indigenous language that she puts into her poetry, it's just incredible. I think about, the foundations of this, and they have been lying about what Indian is since they first came over, right? They're fantastic stories of who we are, have, since the first boats pulled up. And so I think about that with respect to those Parks and Rec paintings pretty much over at the Capitol, and I think that's making us exotic in our own lands, and I think about that constantly. Like, this is where, because children go and visit the Capitol and they see the scary monster Indians, right? Or you go through the history, or I even think about, why is there a statue of Columbus in St. Paul? Like, that dude didn't come here. I think about this. Oh, what's that?
That's another one.
Yeah, I don't understand it. But there's this constant changing of us. There's this constant wanting us to be this stereotype, right? And just, beyond all odds, just melt. We're not even melting. We're being molded into what they want us to be, which is this stoic monster who is, always around the corner, right? Asking for a handout. Losers. Treaties are made between two people that want it to stop, right? That's what treaties are. I'm not a loser at all. I am a survivor of a third displacement. And so I think about those things, you know what I mean? I think about what Gwen Westerman is saying is like, this is not a thing that's let's just put this in the back. Well, I would love to. Can y'all paint over that? Please, you model me. I would love to be on the wall in the Capitol. Make a statue of me. I would love that. Or, any of the incredible poets that I like, to let me be the first. I would love to be on a dollar coin, like Scalia. But what I'm saying is that there's this constant idea to change us. And Rihanna was talking about that, right? I come specifically from a matrilineal descent, right? And so my leaders were the people that made life, right? And then, so here comes the Indian Reorganization Act, right? And they change it and put it so that all the males are in charge, and then immediately we lose our balance, right? Immediately we lose the idea of we are going together, right? This is us together, and we lose that idea, right? And we get changed into whatever they want us to be. And that's the problem that I see with that, with saying something like, and I was, at Oxford College, and the very first class I took was a women's history class. And in the books provided, both books said, the very first chapters were American Indian women. That's what it said. But we jumped right over those chapters. And for the life of me, I couldn't figure out the why of it. And I know it because it's hard to honor us. Because if you honor us, then you're acknowledging what you've been doing to us since you first got here. And so, I am an indigenous person colonized by English speakers. And my brethren are indigenous people decimated by Spanish speakers. And we are just trying to make our way. And I would love it if we could get past that history. But it isn't not ever going to go away until, we all go together. right? That's the balance of us, right? We have to change it. My tribe is working on moving away from the IRA government, and that's an important step. To be able to move back to our traditional ways of leadership, I think is an important step. And to be able to take as much pictures of those faking Indians on the wall is great. Well, why don't you go ahead and put those in the Museum of History, right? Right there with, Little Crow's bones. And just go ahead and bury those deep. And honor us as we are. Because more times than none, this is what's being fed to everybody. I mean, I think about those images, and then I think about that flag of that town in New York, right? And there's a white guy, and then there's the Indian guy, right? And the Indian guy is getting choked out, he's getting murdered, right? And instead of going, yeah, we should probably get rid of that. That's awful. They're like, no, they're just wrestling. And I can't imagine what the idea for keeping us as this faceless monster, or this exotic thing, other than this is what they want us to be. This is what they're trying to get us to be since they decided who we were. You know what I mean? And I don't know how many times I got to hear Last of the Mohicans. That's a totally written by a white guy thing, but that movie, it's got rebooted like 10 times. I don't understand it. But that's what I think about that stuff. This idea of who they want us to be. And who they want us to be is that sweet, delicious stereotype. And sometimes I get tired of it.
Yeah. I think that's also one of the reasons, but Vince, when you said, why don't they have contemporary Native comic book heroes, right? It's because if it really relates to the whole issue. If you have living Indians, living Native Americans, then you have to deal with the whole history.
And that's very true. I mean, to make us into something that the national culture wants to devour that's the thing, right? That's the marketing, right? Let's paint ourselves up like skulls and pretend to be, something we are not, right? That is the want and desire to eat us whole. But not only that, forget who we are, because it's never how it was, right? Indigenous identity was who you lived around, who you spoke like, and the cultural traditions that you follow, right? So, anybody could have been that, right? But there's this idea that we have to fit a mold, and man, it's hard to get in there. I'm really fat, so, I'm not a stoic warrior. I mean, I like to talk nonstop sometimes. I should shut up now, as a matter of fact. But what I'm saying is that there's this ideal of who we are, and it is only approachable if you don't know exactly who you are. And that's the thing that I think about. Every fall there's new students coming to the city, and maybe they have a degree of understanding who we are, but then they're inundated with everything that we're not, right? There's Indians on paint, there's Indians on tow trucks. It's really weird here in this town, man. And so that's what they think, right? Now I think about that for the neighborhood that I grew up in, Phillips. The Blackhawks are the champs. Those are the winners. So those are Indians. So all the kids in my neighborhood, and I don't want to generalize all the kids, but a good portion of them are wearing our stereotype on their chests. You know what I mean? We're eating ourselves, as it were. And it just, man, sometimes I don't even want to leave the house. It's just, that's the way it is,
I think too, as much as history is written by the victors, the idea of what victory is has been written by the victors. That if we see that as winning, if we see what they've done as winning, we have lost. So I think we have to take that back and re-envision what winning is. I don't think we're losing. If I thought we were losing, I don't think any of us would be here. I think we are waging a different campaign with a different goal, and that's our vision of winning.